Hello. Today we are going to have a look at Work and Play by Ted Hughes. Looking at the title of the poem, what does Hughes mean by it? What is the relationship between the two? Does Hughes mean that work and play are different things that one must engage in at different times? Or are they the same but given two different names depending on one's perspective? The poem has 4 stanzas with 8, 10, 13, and 13 lines respectively. Throughout the poem, the poet builds 2 images, one of a hard-working swallow and the other of seemingly carefree humans enjoying their summer vacation at the seaside. The spatial setting of the poem is a seaside. This place is uninhabited and left to nature throughout the year, except for the summers during which it is invaded by people. The events that are described in the poem takes place in a particular summer, but the implication is that it happens every year. Though not articulated, reading the poem, I was reminded often of the Aesopian story of the grasshopper and the ant. The swallow being the industrious ant, and the holidaymakers being the not so innocent or artless grasshopper. Let's look at the first stanza. Work and Play by Ted Hughes. The swallow of summer, she toils all the summer, a blue dark knot of glittering voltage, a whiplash swimmer, a fish of the air. But the serpent of cars that crawls through the dust in shimmering exhaust, searching to slake its fever in ocean, will play and be idle, or else will bust. The rhyming scheme of the first stanza is A, B, C, E, F, G, I, E. In the first line of the first stanza, the poet associates the bird with the season of summer by calling it, I quote, the swallow of summer, end quote, building an intrinsic relationship between the bird and the season, which the people who invade the bird's natural domain later and disturbs it do not share. Throughout summer, the bird toils. Interestingly, the poet uses the personal pronoun she to refer to the bird, anthropomorphizing it while using it to refer to the serpent of Kars, dehumanizing it in the process. Incidentally, it is the third person omniscient poetic persona that uses the word toil to describe what the bird is doing. However, the repeated use of musical l sounds in the line by the poet takes away the negative connotations associated with the word toil. In the next 2 lines, the poet uses 2 fabulous metaphors to describe the speed of the bird. In the second line, the bird is a blue-black knot of glittering voltage, a thunderbolt, an appropriate metaphor for the season with its sudden thunderstorms. The phrase, I quote, blue-black knot, end quote, refers to the color and the size of the bird, while the knot could also be read as a reference to the stored energy in the bird. The phrase, I quote, glittering voltage is obviously a reference to the power and the speed at which the tiny blue blackbird moves about, performing its summer chores. The fourth line begins with the conjunction but, placing what is to come next at odds with what has been said so far. While the swallow is going about performing its summer chores joyously in that Edenic location, unbeknown to her, I quote, the serpent of Kars crawled through the dust in shimmering exhaust, end quote. The poet uses parallel structures in, I quote, the swallow of summer, end quote, and, I quote, the serpent of Cars, end quote. Of course, the threat is still far away, as indicated by the use of future simple in the section subsequent to but. The serpent of Cars is exhausted by the heat of the summer, for it is not a creature of summer, being cold-blooded. So, it is crawling through the dust, dispersing clouds of shimmering exhaust at its wake in its search for a cooler place. While the bird glittered due to its beautiful plumage, it is the exhaust expelled by the serpent of Cars that shimmered. The pun on the word crawl indicates both the speed of the cars and the motion of the snake. Lines 5 to 7 are much shorter than the rest of the lines in the stanza, underscoring the exhaustion of the serpent of cars that are searching for the ocean to slake its fever, where it would play and be idle or else will bust. The poet uses long vowel sounds in lines 5 to 7, indicating the lack of energy in the serpent. But in the last line of the stanza, he reverts to using shorter vowel sounds and l sounds, indicating that the trip to the seaside would give the serpent energy and fill it with joy. However, while the bird found joy in work, the serpent found joy in play. The word bust, an informal slang term used for explode, indicates the tension felt by the serpent of Cars at the point prior to its seaside vacation. Next, let's look at stanza 2. The swallow of summer, the barbed harpoon, she flings from the furnace a rainbow of purples, dips her glow in the pond and is perfect. But the serpent of Cars that collapsed on the beach disgorges its organs, a scamper of colors, which roll like tomatoes, nude as tomatoes, with sand in their creases, to cringe in sparkle of rollers and screech. The second stanza of the poem has 10 lines rhyming A, B, C, D, F, G, G, H, D. The first 3 lines form one sentence, which makes it a series of run-on lines. The poet uses enjambment, thus, to describe the perfection of the bird in its natural setting. In this stanza, the poet once again calls the swallow of summer. The particular technique is called repetition. Through that, the poet reiterates the intrinsic relationship between the swallow and the season. While that brings positivity to the relationship between the swallow and the season, it also contrasts that relationship with the kind of relationship those in the serpent of Cars have with the season. The poet uses metaphors of a barbed harpoon and a rainbow of purples in this stanza to illustrate the swallow further. A harpoon is a weapon used by whale hunters, and like a harpoon thrown with great speed, the swallow releases herself from the hot summer sky in the trail of its prey. The poet uses the metaphor of a furnace for the scorching midday sky. Outlined against the blueness of the sky, the swallow is a rainbow of purples. The color of the bird is not uniform. It is a rainbow of purples. Coming down, she touches the water and transfers some of her color to the water. I quote, dips her glow in the pond. End quote. The bird is perfection itself. To this little piece of heaven comes crawling the serpent of Cars. Once again, the volta is marked by the conjunction but. As soon as it reaches the beach, the serpent collapses out of sheer exhaustion and disgorges its organs. In contrast to the beauty and the speed of the bird, the picture the serpent forms is extremely unpleasant and unaesthetic. The organs disgorged are undoubtedly people coming out of their cars. In contrast to the graceful speed of the swallow, the disgorged organs scamper about. Even at the beach, the holidaymakers cannot forget their mad, undignified haste in the cities. So they are scampering about. There is nothing substantial in them. Therefore, they are just an assortment of fast-moving colors. They are heavy, earth-bound bodies, I quote, roll like tomatoes, nude as tomatoes, end quote. Moreover, the double simile, roll like tomatoes, nude as tomatoes, illustrate the angry red color of the painful sunburns the aliens were suffering from due to being exposed to the same summer sun that energizes the little swallow. In contrast to the way the shorter vowels that illustrate the graceful, easy flight of the swallow in the first three lines, the heavier and longer sounds in roll like tomatoes, nude as tomatoes, and the sound of throwing up mimicked in the O sounds in disgorges its organs, together with the use of terms such as disgorgers and scamper, the picture presented to the reader of their own kind is quite unpleasant. The holidaymakers are no better off here on the beach than in their natural habitat. In addition to sporting sunburns, the disgorged organs have sand in their creases of their exposed bodies, making them more uncomfortable. They come to the beach to unwind and to have fun. But at the sight of the vast ocean and large waves sparkling in the sun, unlike the swallow, they cringe in terror. They are out of their elements on the beach. They grate on the nerves of nature and nature on theirs, as illustrated by the repeated use of r sounds in the last line of the stanzas. Let us look at the third and fourth stanzas in another video like this. Until then, good night.